GMA Consumer Alert. You may well be taking drugs every day, not even realizing it. A recent study found trace amounts of pharmaceuticals in the water supply of more than 41 million Americans. How do the drugs end up in your water? What could you do to avoid drinking them? ABC's consumer correspondent Elizabeth Leamy joins us from Washington, from a reservoir there, with more. Elizabeth.
Morning, Diane. That's right, trace amounts. But still, when there are drugs in our water supply, we take them in combinations that were never intended. And when those drugs are antibiotics, there's concern about antibiotic resistance.
Consider vast Lake Mead. It supplies drinking water for Nevada, Arizona, and California. According to the Associated Press investigation, tests have found trace levels of birth control, steroids, narcotics, and more. It's a similar situation across America.
This is scary.
I'm shocked.
Our bodies don't absorb all of the medicine we take, so some of it is excreted and flushed into our sewers. Sewage treatment plants don't remove the drugs. The treated water then flows into lakes, rivers, and reservoirs, and finally to drinking water plants, which typically don't screen for drugs, so they flow back out of our faucets at low levels.
It's a wake-up call for America.
The AP's investigative team found traces of drugs in 24 metropolitan areas out of 62 major water systems it checked. And we're talking about all kinds of medications, antidepressants, antibiotics, heart medicine, you name it. Have a glass of water in Philadelphia, for example, and you're drinking tiny amounts of at least 56 pharmaceuticals or their byproducts. And the AP found most places don't test their water for drugs at all.
The unanswered question at this point is whether, after 50 years exposure of small amounts, that'll have long-term adverse effects on the human body.
Scientists are seeing effects on animals. Male fish, for example, have developed female traits and have reproductive problems. The believed cause, exposure to human birth control hormones.
There is no way that having pharmaceutical drugs in the drinking water supply is going to be of any benefit.
The pharmaceutical industry points out the levels of drugs detected are minuscule.
To give you an idea, the pharmaceutical industry says the amount of medication in our water supply is the equivalent of a single pill in an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
No studies have demonstrated any effects on human health.
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency declined an on-camera interview, but said in a statement that it is concerned about, quote, a growing number of pharmaceuticals in water. Still, the EPA says American water is some of the safest in the world.
And again, no proof so far of harm to human health. Water systems, though, are studying how to keep the drugs out of our water. One thing that does work is a process called reverse osmosis. It's very expensive, though, to do at the water system level. Now, you can buy a reverse osmosis filter for your own home. And keep in mind, traditional water filters aren't designed to filter out medications. Diane?
Right, but it is expensive to buy that reverse osmosis, several $100s. But I want to ask you, Elizabeth, what are you supposed to do with your old medicines now if this is a wake-up call?
Well, you know, they used to recommend flushing them down the toilet, but guess what? That advice has just changed. They now suggest you take unused medicines, put them in a plastic bag or an old jar or bottle, put some water, coffee grounds, or I used mulch, something to make it unappealing to animals, teenagers, etc., and then throw it in the trash.
Animals, teenagers, etc. We know teenagers, don't we? Anyway, thanks so much, Elizabeth.